Hello. Oh, we made it. We made it. We made it. My goodness. My goodness. I think my guest will be back on shortly. This daggone Facebook, these technology gods. Hey, 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 palms up, palms up. Let them know. Let them know your girl is live. Guys, give me a half a minute and we'll see if we can't get our guests back on. I tell you, this technology, today is voting day. That's right. That's right. We don't let nothing keep us down. That's right. We keep on pressing forward. Did you vote today? We're going to talk about it. Yes, we are. Hey, DC. Hey, DC. Your primary is today. Are you voting? You have until 8 p.m. to vote. Who you voting for? Do you know? Well, we're going to talk about it. This is the primaries. We still have the general. So we're going to talk about it tonight. We're giving our guests the time to get on. It's your girl. I'm Dr. Rondell Hamilton, and I tell you, so much is going on with the Healthy DCME Leadership Coalition. We are so excited to come before you another week. I tell you, my apologies. We are running behind, but guess what? Our message is right on time. That's right. That's right. If you help us out right now, go ahead and share the feed. Why don't you? Go ahead and get some folks involved, engaged, guys. We are mindfully making a difference moving forward. You see, we're coming to you live from our MAD studio. We're going to be talking about it the rest of the month and the rest of next month, guys, because it's time to mindfully make a difference in the work that we're doing out there. We cannot leave it up to government. You already know. Guys, I don't know who you're voting for out there, because the last time I checked, you could just toss it up. I heard somebody's mother endorsing them, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Have you seen what they've done in the last few years? I'll leave it at that. And then we had somebody's father endorse him, saying, hey, he's ready to be the mayor. Why not? He's such an excellent council member at large. Mr. Trayon White had a picture with the mayor. Mayor Barry, they pulling out all the stops. I don't know, is it just me? His shoes don't fill up Marion Barry. He can't fit Marion Barry's shoes. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Don't ask me. I'm nobody's expert. I just know from the calls we get. I just know from the verification that he said out of his mouth, Mr. Trayon White, that you got over 200 plus nonprofits registered in Ward 8. That's what you said. Said that about 3 years ago. And I can't imagine with that many nonprofits registered in Ward 8. Why in the world we can't get no help for our people? What you gonna do as the mayor that you ain't done as the council member in Ward 8? I'm just saying, I ain't picking on nobody. I'm just calling it like I see it. Today is voting day. And guess what? We as a city, as a community, and as a nation, well, I guess it's the nation. I guess the nation has their eyes on the nation's capital. Why wouldn't they? Aren't we supposed to be the standard? They said we came in dead last for the racial equality survey. We're going to talk about it. You know yours truly. You know I'm not going to let something like that come down the pike and not talk about it. All right, guys. It's your girl. I'm looking at this connection. It's looking kind of interesting, but we're going to keep on pressing through. Mr. Perry Red must be having problems. Mr. Perry Red was our guest tonight, and we were talking about this voting and the fact that this is the primary, and some people think they're done. You're not done. We're just getting started. The primaries are today, and then the general election is in November. Today was about the Democrats, and they tell me that the Green Party, I invited Mr. Perry Red on to see if he could talk to you guys a little bit, because we got to get some education going between now and November. Let's say we got it wrong this time. You know how that feels. Last two voting cycles, we didn't have a whole lot of choices. So many people just didn't vote, excuse my friend. But we can't do that. We talked to you about the importance of having to have every vote counted. So that's why it's important that you get educated, guys. It's your girl. You know me, mental health advocate, all things mental health related, I am concerned about. And it's important for you to know that your vote, it's attached to those resources, those wonderful resources that you're getting. Your vote, it's going to make the difference of getting a professional in that office that's going to be accountable. All right, so let's talk about it. So the front three runners we just finished referencing: Mayor Bowser, Mr. Robert White at large council, Mr. Trayon White. Well, who else we got to select from? Mr. James Butler. You guys heard that name before. It's nothing wrong with being an underdog as long as you can pull it off, right? As long as you can come in with the momentum, the education, and the accountability that our systems need. So I need you to know that coming in last for a racial equality survey, it's not good. It's not good. I want you guys to know that they rated, you know, a lot of times we read these news headlines and I post them. I know, you know, I post them, I send them out. And you guys just kind of look past the headlines. Maybe you're not recognizing the significance and the connection to your vote. But guys, if you're tired of the guns going off, don't talk about it, be about it. Vote, vote responsibly. Maybe you like your candidate, but hold them accountable. Ask them the tough questions. Don't wait till it's time to vote and then hurry up and run in there and click a lever or choose not to go vote because you just decided you don't want to. Our children depend on you. There are too many things that we vote on the local level that are impacting our children, your neighbors, your extended family. Guys, we gotta all be vigilant about saving our communities. It's not okay to pause it and put it on someone else. All right, so the cries are coming from the community for new leadership. Why are we calling for new leadership? We know about this gun violence. How many more press conferences you guys need to see before you realize that we got to do something different? Because see, the definition of insanity is to keep doing it the same way, expecting different results. You heard me tell you about these statistics. You know Mavis mental health awareness. You know you're better educated if you're watching this Palms Up show and following our leadership. Guys, you must vote. You have to vote. And that's why it's imperative that you take the time to get the information, to learn about their record. What did they do the last time they was in there? And if they hadn't been in there last time, what were they doing before? See, it's important that we get accountable leadership if we want this gun violence to stop. We don't need new leadership just because of the gun violence. What about the homelessness? But I'm gonna stop it right there, guys, because you already know, Palms Up, we got some work to do in this town. I invited our dear leader to take time out of his schedule today because I couldn't think of anybody that would be more appropriate to have on today's show than our dear leader, Mr. Perry Red. And I want you to understand something. Mr. Perry Red is actually a former ANC in Ward 4. He's actually a former Ward 4 council member who ran in the last cycle where we picked up, I think, Ms. Jaleesa George. But we asked Mr. Red to come on. He's also a workers' rights advocate as well as an advocate for our housing and our families over in Woodbury. He does so many things, but most importantly, he is educated about the issues and about the types of understandings that you need to be educated about, because if we got it wrong in this primary, and we won't know yet until the results come out, but let's face it, what's the choices? But if we got it wrong, it's important for you to understand that there's a general election coming up in November. Hey, Mr. Perry Red, I hope you can hear me, can you?
I can, and hopefully you can hear me.
I tell you, we prevail. They don't know nothing about these DCites that keep on pressing forward no matter what, even in the face of bad leadership. We're gonna keep on pressing forward because this nonsense must come to an end.
Nonsense it is, Rhonda.
Welcome, brother. You got the platform. Come on and talk to us on this primary Tuesday. Why don't you in the District of Columbia, the nation's capital?
Well, let me tell you what's encouraging is that we've lived to see another opportunity. Amen. What's discouraging is DC voters are for just because I don't want to be a total pessimist, but I am a realist. And what that means is I know that DC voters will do the same thing and expect some change to happen. Insanity. And of course, some call it insanity. I call it idiocy, but I don't want folks to be accusing me of name calling.
Tomato.
Yeah, that's right. A rose is a rose by any name. So the fact of the matter is, we have three main candidates in the race, but they're not all the candidates in the race for mayor. And the
That's
fact
right.
is, the press is complicit. The DC mainstream media is complicit in making sure that those three people are the ones who are elevated. And what we know, and I'm talking to the Palms Up audience in particular, what we know as advocates on the ground is that of those three, none of them are worthy of your vote. And sadly enough, we have many residents who live over on Savannah Terrace who can tell you for a fact that they've been ignored as a constituency, and the constituent services are poor to none. And for that reason, and that reason mainly, I am just going to tell folks that they're making a mistake in voting for either Trayon White, the Ward 8 representative, Robert White, the at-large representative, council member both, or the current incumbent, Muriel Bowser.
And let me just preface you right now, because we don't have no time for no drama. Mr. Perry Red is entitled to his independent feelings and understandings about this race. He in no way expresses the sentiments of the Palms Up show, but I will tell you that he's very knowledgeable and we do respect what he's saying and we like his knowledge base. We're sure you have rationalizations behind why you feel Muriel Bowser, Robert at-large White, and Trayon White wouldn't be good choices. Do you have any idea of why you feel that way?
Well, if I can just start from the top, and just for info's sake, it's 7:24, and the polls close at 8 p.m. here in DC. So we want folks to go to vote centers, and they're open they open this morning at 7 a.m. They close at 8 p.m. So the fact is, when Muriel Bowser was first elected 8 years ago, she said she would attack and eliminate the problem we're having with affordable housing. And if that was just your one reason for voting for or against a candidate, the fact is she hasn't made a dent in it. The waiting list is still, from what I've heard from those officials down at the Department of Housing, 5 to 10 years long a wait to get on the list.
Absolutely ridiculous.
It is. And Rhonda, let me tell you, as far as violence in the city and crime, if we talk about one issue, if you were a single issue voter, then the fact is, if you were looking at crime, then you would say that Muriel Bowser is a reactionary leader.
Yeah,
and what that means is she wants to work on the back end rather than on the front end on how to prevent crime in the district. Now, her opponent, Robert White, and her other opponent, Trayon White, what they have as a plan looks like this. Zero, nothing. All right, they don't have a plan. And they haven't even began to articulate a plan. What they have done is reacted to Muriel Bowser's failures. So following a failure with a failure only leaves you with a failure. And
process of elimination. Come on, Mr. Red.
Should prompt folks to say, I can't do the same thing and expect them to get it right.
That's right. That's
Rhonda,
right.
that's the thing that grieves us as progressive activists. And I say progressive even outside the progressive scheme, because there are progressives who are going to vote for them as well.
No matter
now, there
what.
are races, Rhonda. There's a race for chairman. And Phil Mendelssohn is the incumbent, and he's been there for what feels to me like a lifetime. He's been in that position. And what we know from our advocacy at Woodbury Village is that Phil Mendelssohn is a nothing burger. And he's a nothing burger to the highest degree. And this is what I know, that he held up paid sick days. The paid sick days bill that is now law. Right now, it was supposed to be implemented, go into effect July 1st. Well, guess what? Guess who held it up so that it will not go into effect until October? Phil Mendelssohn. And he did it in order to placate the business community. Damn the residents, damn the people who need paid sick days, those men and women who start a family or have a child They can't take paid sick leave until October. So hold off on your pregnancy, ladies. So that's, but that's not the only thing. Phil Mendelson's also responsible for denying the will of the voter. We voted for term limits in a referendum just, 4 years ago? It was Phil Mendelsson who led the charge to overturn the will of the voters. I want people to remember that. And I don't want folks to forget it. And that's why, and like Dr. Hamilton said, my views are not the views of Palms Up. My views are the views of many of those who don't know, should know, and even do know why voting for the same thing won't get them a positive result.
Amen, amen. And I want to piggyback on that. You mentioned Phil Mendelsson, and I'm just going to talk facts. Isn't he not the person in charge of oversight for DCRA?
Rhonda, that's factual. He is responsible as the chairman of the committee of the whole for all matters involving DCRA, including regulation, including execution of housing code violations and the like. And just so folks will know, Rhonda Hamilton, she has logged people in Woodbury Village Apartments in Ward 8 DC, people who have mold growing, recurring mold on their walls, in their apartments, and it has not been eradicated. And Phil Mendelsson was there to see it. I've got a picture of Dr. Hamilton and Chairman Mendelsson together. He saw it. He's the author of the Mold Act, a law that's in place to make landlords eradicate mold that grows in people's homes. Well, guess what he's done since he saw it a year ago? Nothing.
And the sad thing about everything that you're speaking on is that, thank God this is the primaries, and thank God for Palms Up and other shows, Fred Hill, AblazeRadio.com, and all the other platforms that are using our platforms to educate the voters. Guys, it is not okay to just vote based on who you like. You can still like them. They're individuals. You can stay friends with them outside of office. But when they're elected for public office, they're supposed to take care of the whole. And Phil Mendelsson, as you heard Perry Red say, his leadership has not moved this city forward, and definitely not families of color. And what's interesting, I think it's intentional that he uses people of color to endorse him in the election, and it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. And there I go using that word, driving me crazy. Well, I'm the mental health advocate, so who's going to know better than the mental health advocate what driving somebody crazy looks like or feels like? I want you to know that they keep using us in their scenarios. And I need you to know something out there, Facebook. I need you to know that just because you may not know the family that is ailing in Woodbury, just because nobody nobody that in your family perhaps is dealing with rodents, roaches, mold, and anything else that you've heard us bring before you. There are people that look like you and I. There are children trapped in this dangerous leadership. So it's so irresponsible when I hear people say, oh, he's doing a good job. How in the world can you say he's doing a good job when we're pointing out, we're bringing before you week after week, day after day, and month after month, all of the families that they're failing. And then you go and take yourself inside that poll and vote for them irresponsibly. If you're going to elect public leaders, hold them to a higher standard. You see the people on the corner taking these drugs and this alcohol and self-medicating. You see the statistical data. You see the nature of our city, the diminishing around wherever Black people are. The value is low. But yet and still they come and get us when it's time to go back and get in office. When are we going to raise the standards? Hey, P. Red, thanks so much. You talked about the mayoral candidates. You talked about Mayor Bowser they're going to vote on. And guys, keep it in mind, you have till 8 p.m. to 7:33. You got time. Go get yourself in that line and help us save our babies. Help us change this narrative. Help us send a strong message downtown that we're not having it. If you're not going to take care of the seniors, if you're not going to take care of our babies, don't tell me what you're going to do as mayor for the crime when you ain't did nothing as council member for the crime. And don't tell me why you need to be the mayor again, because you done dipped into all the money that you've been sitting on and throwing it everywhere, throwing it up against the wall so you can be popular and trending everywhere. When the truth of the matter is that if you cared, that money would have already been out there. You would have been trending for the right thing instead of coming in dead last. Hey, Pete, let's talk about it. Before we shift gears, we got so much to talk about in so little time. Muriel Bowser, at-large Robert White, Trayon White, you don't see anything in their representations thus far that would be positive for folks to hold on to. How about these other folks in the mayoral race? We know about James Butler and we know Red Grant. Who's the other contender?
Well, on the Republican side, Nelson Riemenschneider.
Sit down, kids. Come on.
Nelson Riemenschneider is running for mayor.
What's that last name?
His name is Riemenschneider, and he's run before. I'm familiar with him. He's run before and has a snowball's chance in hell. And then there's a statehood Green candidate who failed to make the ballot. Now, just for full disclosure, folks, DC has a 93% electorate that are registered Democrats. So it's a Democrat city.
So and I must disclose of us are Democrats in DC.
Yes.
Okay.
So I must disclose that I'm not a Democrat. There are independents in the district, and those folks don't get to vote in the Democrat primary. Statehood Greens don't get to vote in the Democrat primary. But our statehood Green candidates will move on to the general election.
General? So
yes,
who's voting in the primary? Just the Democrats?
Democrats are voting for Democrats. Republicans are voting for Republicans. We have a system what's known as a closed primary system.
Okay.
Some states have open primaries, and that's where people from any party can cross over and vote for any candidate. That's not the case in the district. There's some positives to that, and there's some negatives to that.
What's the positives?
Well, the positives are for smaller or minority parties, they don't get the folks to skew their election. And even with major parties that have sizable majorities, they don't get to skew an election so that they can vote out a strong candidate in another party. If they cross over to another party, sometimes, and Republicans, conservatives, they have been popular with this in the last 10 years in order to X out the strongest candidate in another party.
Okay.
I saw them do it with Cynthia McKinney in Georgia. And so that's a positive. A negative is that people from opposite parties or other parties or minority parties often have better ideas, often have better vision, and are often uncorrupted. And the fact is, the majority of the people who are of one party, they can't vote for someone who is non-connected, uncorrupted, and maybe an outsider. And so that's a negative.
Okay. Thank you for breaking that down. And let's talk about it. So I heard you say that Muriel Bowser, at-large Robert White, Trayon White, James Butler, Red Grant, this Nelson Riemenschneider, who is a Republican, and I'm guessing he's a cousin from another mother.
You would guess correctly. You would guess correctly. You have another persuasion. And as Republicans go, I ran against a Republican in 2013 in a special election, and I've never cared for their vision on governance. But what I will say is this: DC lacks diversity in its political landscape, and for that reason, it has harmed DC residents. How so, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Factually speaking, we've seen the decrease of Black people in DC. According to the census, right now, Black folks, still a majority, make up 46% of the population. The white folks make up 36% of the population. But the skewed census allows Latinos to identify as white, which, according to the US Census in 2020, now white people in the district make up 46%. So 46% white, 46% Black. Now, we talk about a fair and even society, right? Well, the fact is, the median income for Blacks in DC and the median income for whites in DC is separated by roughly 60 percentage points, where whites make 60% more money than Blacks. Now, there are many Black folks in the district with good paying jobs who work for the district.
I want to break that down even further. You talked about it before we go on to the other positions in the election that we're voting for. It is 7:39. You guys have 21 minutes. Take the thumbs up show on your phone and go ahead and get in line. I know you've been thinking about it. I know there's somebody out there that still is not decided on whether or not they should vote. Guys, you hear Perry Red, thank you, Mr. Red, thumbs up, talking about the variances in elections and what we have before us. We have a closed primary. So what that means is that in this particular election, the Democrats are voting for the Democrats and the Republicans are voting for the Republicans. What's going to happen is you have a general election that's going to come up. Now, once we figure out who the Democrat and the Republican candidate is from this race, they carry forward and we have a general in November. We still have time. So if we don't get this right, it is important that we rally around one another and talk about the issues and decide who's going to be the mayor of this fair land. But besides the mayor, Pete, what other positions are we voting on in this race?
Well, I'm glad you asked. There's also, we also have a race for the U.S. representative in Congress. And so the incumbent has been there for what feels, again, like a lifetime.
Is that our beautiful Eleanor Holmes Norton?
Eleanor Holmes Norton, you'll be correct.
How many people challenging her?
She's our delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives, and she's being challenged by two people. One Kelly Williams, which I don't know much about, and another is a namesake that I'm familiar with, Wendy Hope Dealer Hamilton. So
Wendy Hope Dealer Hamilton.
She calls herself, she got her name on the ballot as Hope Dealer. So, I can say gimmicks are
they pull a lot of gimmicks out.
They rarely work in politics, when we talk about serious candidates, because even your so-called candidate for the mayoralty, for the chief executive, Trayon White, he got on the ballot, Trayon, Washington, D.C., White.
Now, you know what? That just goes along with the picture with him and the Mayor Barry, as if Mayor Barry would roll over in his grave if he could just look at the track record of what this young man has done since he's been in office. Never mind last time he run, and Fred and Fred Hill and some of the other folks going against him talked about his voting record or his absenteeism. And then we find out now, slap in the face, that Phil Mendelssohn indicates that Mr. White didn't fund the community centers east of the river. So I'm trying to figure out how he thinks that makes him Mayor Barry material. But see, if you got the people snowed, you can do a photo op and get on social media. And what he call himself? Trayon Washington, D.C. White?
D.C. White. Oh, okay, rolling my eyes, right? And keep in mind, Rhonda, and this is a sad note, just this weekend, two young people, 16-year-olds, were shot and killed in the district. And just going back to our chief executive, Muriel Bowser, she is holding a badge in her position to hire more police. This is what Chief Conte said about the shooting where the young man was killed in Northwest DC. He said there were 100 officers on scene prior to the shooting. 100. 100. But Mayor Bowser says the answer to the crime problem is hiring more police.
But wait a minute. wait a minute, we got to burn her because she's double talking. She showed up at the Ward 8 ANC meeting that I attended. Very rarely do I attend these meetings because I don't subscribe to their nonsense. I'm about action, and too many people are hurting. But I showed up to the meeting because I wanted to be fair and be open-minded, because I owe that to the families that we advocate for. And if there is a median, if there is a way that we can work with this administration or any administration, we want to do that. But we're not compromising and negotiating the well-being of our families to do so. And so the reality is that at this meeting that all these people showed up for, got, adjusted their schedules, got on that Zoom, there must have been almost 150, 200 of us. She gets on there and they ask her, Miss Bauer, Miss Mayor, what can we do about all the folks, all the crime, the guns, and we're afraid to come out of our homes? And she said the community is giving her mixed messages. Well, the community needs not to give her mixed messages in your voting, because that is ridiculous. There are no mixed messages. All we hear are cries. People don't want to live the way that they're living, and she uses these fancy words and these fancy relationships, holds the money, puts the gatekeepers in place, and keep on doing business as usual on the backs of the very people who depended on her. So I hope you guys will take a cue from Mayor Bowser's response at the Ward 8 meeting just a month ago, where she said that you all in the community are giving her mixed signals for how you want her to deal with the crime. Have you ever heard of such nonsense? See, they're going to keep giving us nonsense as long as we take it. Hey, P. Red, before we get out of here, we are voting on the mayoral seat. We're voting on the U.S. rep in Congress. What else we voting on? Anything
so we're
else?
also voting for the Attorney General. And we have a story to tell you about the Attorney General's office, but that's for another show. So,
I tell you, we need a whole 2 more shows. But here's the thing: who are the candidates running for Attorney General?
So running for Attorney General, 3 candidates right now that we've heard from and seen. One is Ryan Jones, and I believe Ryan Jones is the one who challenged Kenya McDuffie.
Got him out of there.
McDuffie, the former the council member in Ward 5, who chose to run for Attorney General and give up his seat in Ward 5. And you know what? Ryan Jones won. He won that challenge, and rightfully so. Kenya McDuffie, which I'm very happy about, was kicked off the ballot. So there's Ryan Jones, who's running for Attorney General. And then there's Bruce Spiver, who's running for Attorney General as well.
What's his name? Bruce Spiver?
Bruce Spiver, S-P-I-V-A.
Okay.
Yes. And
you know anything about him?
Well, I do. What I do know about him is that he's not car racing. That's number one.
That's saying a whole lot.
Well, listen, folks, I'm very thankful the car racing isn't running, but I am highly suspicious of those reasons why. I'm not going to speak to his intent, but I will speak to what he is rubber stamped, who he has his Christian as his successor, and that candidate is Brian Schwab. Now, Dr. Hamilton met Brian Schwab.
Okay.
And Brian Schwab is highly financed in this campaign, strongly financed.
Sick of them. We sick of all them highly financed, fully backed, the special interest group, all these no. We sick of it. My beautiful baby, shout out, palms up to Charmaine Bloomfield over there in Woodbury Village, that said, we are people, we are humans. You guys are running a business east of this river, but what about the lives of the people? And that's what this election is supposed to be about. So just in case we get it wrong, guys, because this is the primary, thank God you get a second shot at it. And I don't want to hear all that nonsense about, oh, this is my candidate, they all right. No, they are not. No, they are not. The homelessness in this city, ridiculous. You just heard Mr. Red say officially, that the waiting list is approximately 5 to 10 years still. You know what I'm talking about out there. Everybody out there knows somebody that knows somebody that's still looking for housing, waiting for housing, or suffering in the housing that they live in. Come on, somebody, palms up. We got to talk about this stuff, DC. These slumlords, they have to go. Capital Realty, your days are numbered. We'll talk about that on another show. But in the meantime, P-Red, we got all these cries for new leadership. So I wanted to go down the list. We know about the ongoing gun violence, because that's visible in the daily reports. And God bless all of the beautiful souls that we continue to lose. Bad leadership is dangerous, guys. You got to vote. You got to vote. It's 7:48. You still got time to get in the door and get in that line. Homelessness, we know about it. Slumlords, we know about it. Pete, talk to me about the unbalancing in the resources and the fact that there's no comprehensive plan for mental health. How does that play into people's voting? Why should they care? And why does their vote impact that, or does it?
Well, you know, these services that are provided by the district are said to be among the best laid out plan in the country. Sadly enough, we have district residents who don't have access to those resources. District residents who have petitioned as constituents, their members of the council, our legislative body, in means and ways in order to expand those services through allocation of funds or by actual execution of those services, like at HUD or like at our mental health, in our health department. Sadly enough, these leaders have failed so many residents. When we look at homelessness and how many tents are on the street, what I learned, Rhonda, is DC has a what's called rapid rehousing program.
Oh, God.
And that rapid rehousing program, number one, it's not rapid. And number two, it's only 3 months long. So those tents where people were living under the bridges, say on M Street in Northeast, or living in tents out in upper Northwest and Foggy Bottom. Those people who were rehoused by Mayor Bowser and her plan, those people are back in tents again because the program was only 3 months. But what we know is this, Rhonda, there was recently found $918 million in affordable housing funds that was non-allocated in fiscal year 2021. Rhonda, that could have housed a lot of people, and it could have set people on the path to permanent housing.
Yeah, that's a common thing. You remember when we first got into the pandemic and she found some 200,000, 300,000. She didn't think it would help anybody. And, you know, it doesn't make any sense that we have to keep pointing out the failures of this leadership. And the importance is that it's not just about them failing. It's about the ramifications in the lives of the families that day in and day out depend on them to go into these positions and do the right thing. When Mr. Trayon White doesn't fund programs in the community center level, what happens when that little boy comes home from school and has nothing else to do other than to get on the block where the Heineken and the Henny has already been pulled out, where the guns are already popping off? There is no go-between. We have already established, and you guys know what these communities look like. We come from them. Why are they still like that? And why would we put the same leadership back in there only to live the same results? The families are the sacrificial pawns. Mr. Washington, D.C., Mr. Wendy Hope Dealer, it's no game. This is not a game. They've taken public office and turned it into celebrity. And then what happens is people such as myself, Mr. Red, the Healthy DC Leadership Coalition that really cares about raising the standard and the quality of living for our families. For people that look like you and I'm so sick and tired of apologizing or feeling as if we should for taking a stand to empower our own. Every statistic, every part of history tells you that we've been a minority for far too long. So when we tell you that it's time to stop this nonsense, we didn't get here overnight, so it's going to take us longer than overnight to fix it. So just in case we got it wrong in this primary, I need you to know that there is a general election in November.
That's right.
I saw somebody's campaign slogan say, vote about the people and not the politics, or something along those lines. Yeah, I agree with that. But don't be fooled by pictures of Marion Barry. When they gotta go pull pictures of Marion Barry out instead of pictures of their track record and what they did to save the communities where the guns are going on, you gotta know something's up. Nobody need a picture of Marion Barry to know who to vote for. We know what Marion Barry looked like. We know what it feels like, and it's not you. So cut it out. Hey guys, it's your girl, Palms Up. We up here in the nation's capital, and it is time to send a strong message downtown. We are not having it. Our seniors and our children are being left behind. This gentrification and this development in this town is out of whack. We all for growth. We all for economic upcoming, but everybody's supposed to be included. And these public offices are supposed to be for the people and by the people. So guys, I hope that you listened to the Palms Up show, ran out there, got yourself in line. If you did, if you're one of those folks who weren't going to vote, but you heard something that Mr. Red said tonight, you heard something on the show that you remembered that mental health matters and that we're counting on you to vote. And if you didn't vote this time, get yourself together, because you got to vote in the general, guys. We want to hear from you, those of you who are not voting. Give us your rational reasons for why you're not voting. Let's talk about it as a community. Because guys, we got to go through it to get through it. And we got a lot of families that have been going through it, and they're depending on you so they can get through it. Our children are depending on you to vote responsibly. Hey, Mr. Red.
Wanda, let me run over. Let me just run through DC chair's race and then the at-large race.
Okay.
The DC chair, we have two candidates who are running as in the Democrat primary, and that's Phil Mendelssohn, who I spoke of earlier. He's running against Aaron Palmer. Now, I'm familiar with Aaron Palmer as I was an ANC commissioner in Ward 4, and I served on the ANC with Aaron Palmer. And what I know is she's an ethics lawyer, a mother of 3 children, and Aaron Palmer is a strong believer in progressive issues and curing wealth inequality. And that has a strong component of anti-racism within it, and she has been all for it. She was the author of the resolution that we wrote when Karan Hilton was killed in 2020. And so I'm a strong advocate for Aaron Palmer in the Democrat primary. There's a Republican running also in the primary, a Republican named Nate Derenge. And then for those who don't know, Statehood Green will bring their candidate to the general election, and that's Daryl Moak. Now, for at-large race, in the at-large race, and we run out of time, I realize that. So there are several Democrats in the race, and that includes Lisa Gore, who's running it, Nate Bennett Fleming, who has run a few times before, Anita Bonds. Anita Bonds is the incumbent, and sadly—
Isn't Anita Bonds in charge of housing? We haven't heard from her all at Woodbury, have we? Yeah.
Hasn't heard hide nor hair from her. She's been totally irresponsible. And this is where Perry Red has endorsed 2 of the candidates, and my slogan is vote responsibly. If you vote for the same thing, folks like Anita Bonds, who's the chair of the Housing Committee, who does not even answer emails of residents when it comes to housing code violations, you can't continue to vote for that same thing, because one day it's going to be you. Then there's Dexter Williams is also running in the at-large race, who I'm unfamiliar with. There is a Republican running named Giuseppe Noosi. I'm just throwing that in for information. He's running in the at-large race. Okay. Listen, there's the Ward 1 race that is in effect right now, and that's Brianne Nadosi. She's running against Sable Harris and Sarah, and I may get her name wrong, Zipari. And the fact is, Brianne Nadeau is not one of my favorite council members. I'm just going to tell you
know me, I listen for those names. I said Nadeau is running. I'm not with Nadeau either. There's some people who support her. I don't on. She's the one that's the oversight over Health and Human Services, right?
You got it.
Yeah,
and we're talking about mental health
We
again.
took our citizen. Yeah, nope. She's
Yes,
not one. We got to start calling it out. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've taken constituents to her office and sat them down before staff to tell their story of how Health and Human Services have failed them. And Brianne Nadeau did what Muriel Bowser does. She doesn't flip flops like Muriel Bowser in her hand. Say, I don't waffle. She does nothing.
Well, I just, you know what comes to mind? I remember sitting on that call being in distraught for this citizen and still not having solutions. And one of the members of her staff of another persuasion decided it was the perfect time to give the staff an attaboy for all the work they've been doing. And I didn't understand the attaboy when the citizen is still trying to figure out their housing situation. So we need to time out for all these officials in these offices that don't think that they have to answer to the community. And watch this, don't think that they have to answer to the community advocates. Are you kidding me? You know how people are at a disadvantage. You know this nonsense you keep pushing. You know that the advocates are coming down the lane to call your behind out and to clean this mess up. Let's be clear. We didn't get here overnight, but we're going to unravel this nonsense. And you guys have to help us. You have to vote. Okay? Number one, you have to vote. So if you didn't get it right in this primary, you got time because here comes the general. And before we get out of here, like Mr. Red say, palms up to everybody. Before we get out of here, we need you to understand something. We are in this together. So whoever you vote for and whoever you think's supposed to be in there, we're going to remind you that that's who you voted for or didn't vote for. Because when you don't vote, it's like you're just saying, leave the same old crap in there because you're making it possible for somebody else to come down the lane and win. You heard Mr. Red say that this isn't Chocolate City anymore. You need to get out there, get that out your head. This is not Chocolate City anymore. There's a new sheriff in town, and you better be careful because he's going to win one of these elections. And then once they start winning these elections, you're going to see something different happen for your families on the block. Okay? Palms up. We got to start talking and taking our power back and not leave it to these so-called elected officials that have been in that office for the last term and the term before that. They got to go. They got to go. And that's just my personal feelings. But I'm telling you, put me before anybody, and I'll show you testimony after testimony of why that's the case. Hey guys, it's your girl, palms up. And just like that, another hour is passing. We started this late, but we're going to get on out of here because we want you to go and reflect and get excited about the fact that we have a general election that's coming. This by no means means anything. Okay, this just means that if we get the wrong one, that crap that made it through. And we got to be determined. I'm gonna say another word, but we got to be determined in November to make sure that this crap doesn't keep seeping through. We got to make it awfully hard for them to continue to operate in those offices the way that they have. Hey P Red, before I let you get away from me, they tell me that the more females than males are receiving treatment for serious mental illness. And I know you know where I'm going with this. Father's Day just passed. Happy belated Father's Day to you, you beautiful soldier you. And you're also a grandfather. In honor of Juneteenth and Black men's mental health. It is important that we start uplifting our soldiers because we need you guys to come back and stay at the table. Our children are lost. Our communities need direction. And we can't come out of this without our men, without our Black men. Let's be real. Everybody ain't going to that block, but our Black men will go back to that block and help us to save a family. And that's why we're going to do this together. And so having said that, our Moving Men series, that's our support group. Shout out to My Mother's Keeper and all the wonderful work they did on the ground for the last 5 years. Our Moving Men was very popular in the communities. And since the pandemic, we haven't been able to really get our men together. And so, P-Red, I really appreciate you agreeing to come forward and be vulnerable so that we can bring our Moving Men series to our MAD Studio platform. And so shout out to you, brother. I just wanted to take a minute to just show some love and send some love your way and to thank you for all that you do to uplift the culture. Thank you for being, for your service because you're a vet. And I just thank you for being a wonderful human being because sometimes it's hard to talk about the rough stuff. But you get up every day and you go out and make effort for everybody else around you. And so I look forward to bringing your story to the forefront and doing you justice, because, sir, you are an American treasure. You are the history that our children need to know about.
Well, Rhonda, I never feel worthy of any praise, but I want to say your love lasts more than any moment. I've seen you with those folks out in Woodbury who depend on you, who rely on you, and who believe in you. And so doing anything for your vision to expand Palms Up, to expand the Healthy DC and Me Leadership Coalition, I feel obligated and honored. And so as a grandfather, as a father, as a man, as a Black man, and as a man who lost a daughter to mental health, my granddaughter, Calissa, it's been 3 years now. And I lost her to mental health. And so your mission is noble. Your mission in doing what you do is so necessary. And to have to bury my redhead baby is the reason why I continue to do what I do and do what I love. And you know, Rhonda, I have no apologies for being broke. I'm not going to be rich doing this work, but I will die happy. I'll be happy because my young Black boys will grow up to be strong Black men. And my daughters and all my granddaughters and my progeny, these females will be leaders in this society, and they'll follow the steps of a Dr. Rhonda Hamilton. So thank you so much.
Hey, P, the pleasure's all mine. Hey, y'all, just like that. It's your girl, and we are all out of time. I thank you guys so much. Please stay tuned to the platform. And if you haven't already, please go to YouTube. Please go to our Facebook feed and look for the Mad Studio link. And if you please subscribe and like it and then share it. Guys, we're building a movement. We want to make sure that the content that we bring before you will mindfully make a difference in your life and the lives of everyone that we touch. Guys, we can't do this work without you, nor do we want to. Our dear District of Columbia is a work in progress. They thought they were going to do this without us. Not going to happen. This is our town, and we're going to set it straight. Hey, guys, if we didn't get it right in the primary, remember there's a general coming. Palms up to you. Thank you to our beautiful soul, Mr. Perry Red, and absolutely and always Black Lives Matter. And so does your mental health. And that's why we're bringing the Mad Studio. So guys, stay tuned. We appreciate you. Thanks so much. Thanks, P. Red. We appreciate you.
Love you. Thank you, folks. And keep your palms up and watch out for the kingdom.
That's right. We got to watch this kingdom. Next week, we're bringing Mr. James Butler on. We're going to reach out to Mr. Fred Hill. And then there's a beautiful soul, Miss Jennifer Jalencia Muhammad, who is throwing her hat in the ring for an at-large seat. So guess what? The election is just getting started, because you got some new candidates that are not very new, but they're new to you because they weren't on the ballot, but they will be in November as of the general election. So stay tuned to Palms Up. Send us all your comments. Please go like and subscribe and share the Mad Studio YouTube channel. It's your girl, Palms Up. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon. God bless. Love you guys. Love you, P.